have been efforts in the WTO for years now, started off on environmental goods to try and have some sort of agreement that, well, let's at least get tariffs down on environmental goods. You strike problems immediately because you get this concept of dual use, and people say, well, these are not only environmental goods, they're also used in other areas. So, you know, if we reduce tariffs for good environmental reasons or good climate reasons, we're not able to protect other sectors of our economy. Basically, they've got completely bogged down. I mean, I think my main point in what I said was actually a shift in focus. I mean, in the climate negotiations themselves, there's actually been very little discussion of, we know where we want to get now, so how do we get there? That aspect and the role of those flows of trade, investment, services and technology, that discussion has hardly been had within the context of the climate change negotiations, but because the trade issue has been so concentrated on highly divisive and controversial concepts, particularly developing countries being very scared that they might get slapped by tariffs, if you like, forcing them to adopt exactly the same standards as developed countries. We went there before on the environment, and I pointed out in the paper I did that until the very last stages of Paris, there was a clause in the Paris Agreement at the insistence of developing countries which basically said no developed country will take any unilateral action against any developing country on the grounds of anything to do with climate change. So there was that very negative context which stopped the more positive discussion. And in fact, I don't necessarily think this is a hugely problematic once countries accept that they will all be on a pathway to, if you like, net zero. Because I mean, every country will need that technology, and it's more like to my sense, it's more like a win-win. Now we have seen some rise in protectionism within the US against Chinese solar. China's got competitive on solar, so we've had action in the US to try to to try and restore the competitivity of US solar products. I mean, there I think that aspect there is one where you could well have a discussion within the climate talks. Countries who have been asked to put in a NDC, nationally determined contribution, in other words, their own target. If I'm in a developing country and I'm saying, well, I'm not able to get access to this particular technology because of this restriction, or people in the US might complain if they want to deploy solar panels, but they can only buy US ones because the Chinese ones are being kept out. I mean, those sorts of discussions are very concrete, and I think could, I don't see, given the climate context and given the compelling logic of that chart, I think that's probably quite a good way of coming about it. You're becoming about it from outside the trade negotiations context, which is very much a win-lose type of discussion.